Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast with Thomas Helfrich. Get ready for a thrilling adventure as we uncover entrepreneurial journeys and life-changing business insights every week. And now your host, Thomas.
Welcome to another episode of Never Been Promoted. Why? Because I've never been promoted. Hi, I'm your host, Thomas Helfrich. I am joined today by Jason Abell. Jason, how are you today?
Tom, thanks for having me, brother. I'm well. Very well.
I know you look well. You sound amazing, like you're in this Florida sunshine or something today. You're the president of Rewire. It's a coaching and development organization. And though I made you fill out a bunch of stuff before coming on the show, I didn't read it. So I want you to...
Well done, brother.
Why don't you do your pitch? Tell us about a little bit about you. Set the stage for the audience of kind of how you got to where you are.
Okay, so where to begin? Born in Cheverly, Maryland. Like, do you want me to go that far back?
This is your comfort level. This is your session. This is your therapy session. So you do.
I'll tell you just a little bit about who I am first, just very, very quickly. So when I was growing up, I was exposed to all kinds of self-help books. So think Zig Ziglar, John Maxwell, Napoleon Hill, those types of things. My dad was a voracious reader of all that.
Napoleon Hill or Napoleon Dynamite?
Yeah, right. Napoleon Hill. And I actually geeked out on that stuff. I liked it. And what I found was I was using these self-help things, relational skills, communication skills, even investing, those types of things. And I found that at a young age, they were very helpful for me. So I was the kid with the lemonade stand. I was the kid with the lawn mowing business, that type of thing. Was also the kid that had a bunch of money because of those things. And I was able to see the benefit around that. And so when I was in college, I was looking around. I'm like, other people need to know this stuff. Other kids like me need to know this stuff. And in the 90s, that stuff just wasn't available.
Yeah, there was no YouTube
adults
for you to go start a channel on about this.
The way that it is now. Yeah. And so I wrote a book for other young adults saying, hey, I've done some of these things. I don't know. If you guys want to do some of these things, it might be helpful for you as well. And I thought for sure, I graduated in 1993. I was going to be the next Zig Ziglar. Well, heck, you and your audience knows it's hard to start a business. And after 6 months, when I wasn't like, commanding $100,000 to go speak somewhere, I was like, this will never work. Forget it. And so you and I both know that it takes a lot longer than 6 months to start a successful business. But I literally threw it away and I became a mortgage banker.
Nice.
And so I was in corporate America for 21 years, all the time knowing, man, I need to get back to speaking, writing, coaching, those types of things. And then during my mortgage career, I hired a coach because a lot of the cool kids were hiring business coaches at the time. And this coach really helped shape really who I am today. And again, long story short, he ended up wanting to leave the coaching company that he was with and go start a new venture. And he wasn't exactly sure what that was going to look like. But he and I both decided, dude, let's do it together. Let's go start something. And so in 2014, I left corporate America and we started Rewire, which, as you said, is a coaching and development company. And so for the last 10 years, that's what we've been doing. So that's my story, bro.
There's so much to unpack there because you went through, and thanks for you went through where the mortgage banking, a lot of people take a route in career that they do because it pays bills. It's somewhat entertaining. It's fun. It's easy to get into, or it's what they studied for. But the whole time they have this growing knowledge, this growing passion, this growing void of, I didn't want to do this. I really wanted to do my own thing. And because there's a resilience factor. It's one of the things you really definitely need. Is one of the characteristics, right? Whatever your situation is, you don't. And so I agree with you. So I meet people that hit like mid 30s, early 40s, and they're just done. And they're ready to do their business, but they're like, what do I do? You mentioned having a coach. I remember thinking in my 20s and early 30s, man, all the people that are really successful have coaches. But man, I knew so much back then. I knew so much more than I know now.
Yeah, for sure.
But I knew I didn't need a coach. Who's going to coach me? Kidding me?
Yeah, exactly.
I wish I had gotten one.
Well, you mentioned a couple things there, Tom. I mean, one is, I know for me, the more I learn and know, the less I figured out that I actually know, right? It's one of those things.
Pure Socrates quote right there.
As far as hiring a coach, again, I'm a little biased. I own a coaching company, but dude, you look around and I'm going to say something that's been said 100 times, and especially for listeners of your podcast. If you're the profile of the person that's listening to this podcast, you're also the profile of a person that's probably heard something like this before, which is the best of the best. I don't care the industry, the sport, whatever the endeavor is in life, rock climbing. It doesn't matter what it is. If you want to get better at it, you're going to need to hang out with somebody that can help you, whether that's just a partner that's better at it than you are, or somebody that you literally pay money to mentor you or coach you. And that's why we hired a coach. And that's why I hired a coach as a young mortgage banker. It's also why we opened a coaching company, because the best of the best are the people that really want to invest in themselves, the time, the financial resources, the energy to get better. Those are the people that we're interested in hanging out with. And man, has it been fun? And
you build a community around it too. So it's one thing. So once you've kind of paid for access, that's one thing. And I think a lot of people getting their head around the investment in themselves. They'll go blow $800 a month in dinners and drinks, but they won't go put it into themselves for
right on. Yeah.
Go create 8K a month or 80K a month for themselves and work full time for somebody. So, I'm a big fan of the side hustle. Use your employer as your angel investor, non-equity based. And so
sure. Understood that. Yeah.
But 100% need a coach. I know I'm personally shopping for one too. We were discussing this a little off air of, as we look at our company where we're done for you, LinkedIn experts, I want to start teaching people. I'm stuck at creating my first digital course, even though I have all the knowledge, because I don't know what the hell I'm creating. Like I could be creating something magical or missing the mark 100%, so it slows me down because I'm confused of what to go do. So I don't do. And I think a lot of people are in that spot of, and this is where a coach comes in. And I love some people just go out and do it and they figure it out. And that's great. That's the hallmark of an entrepreneur who's not afraid to fail. I'm telling you right now, as doing an okay entrepreneur, I am stuck at taking an evolution of my company because I don't want to screw it up and screw my brand up because I've done really a lot of work to protect our brand. So talk to me a little bit about that persona, because that, if we're talking about the people that listen to this and are looking to become an entrepreneur, even if they're working somewhere and they're just like, I want to make that transition like you did to go do something else from some industry X to something I have a passion for.
Sure.
Tell me about that step and where you get stuck and how you get unstuck, even if you don't have the money to get unstuck. So talk about that, because that is the nexus of, unleashing an entrepreneur.
Our director of development and learning is a guy by the name of Steve Longan, and he has a saying that a bicycle is a lot easier to steer once the wheels are moving. And so, you think about that. Okay, you hop on a bike.
It's such a great. That's gonna be a post on LinkedIn. I'm stealing that.
Well, it's true. Well, and just to tribute him, I'm saying it to you, and I do think it's pretty amazing. But it's Steve Longan. So you think about it. You hop on a bike and it's stationary. Like a road bike. You're gonna fall over. Like it ain't going anywhere. Even if you're going ever so slow, now you can steer it. You can, put your feet up on the pedals and now you can steer it. And I think it's the same thing with the business. And so for me in mortgage banking, there is part of the story where, and I told you we started in 2014. In 2013, if you would have asked what I was going to do for the next 20 years, and remember, I just been a mortgage banker for 20 years, I would have told you, heck yeah, mortgage banking. Like it was good. It was profitable. I love the people that I worked with. We were doing well. I actually was in a position, because I was in a position of leadership, I was able to coach people and help people. So I was able to get that fix that I was looking for. But we made that, big switch where got out of corporate America and started something. But along the lines of what I'm talking about, the bicycle analogy, I was able to lead people, coach people, help people in my position where I was. And so I know some people do the side hustle thing. Some people use the income that they're making while they're trying out their new business.
Angel investor method.
Yeah. That's right. Make your current employer your angel investor. I think that's one of your sayings. And so I'm a big advocate of that. So in other words, what I'm not a big advocate for is, man, I've been thinking about this. I want to do this. I'm passionate about this, but you haven't actually done anything. In other words, the bike is stationary, and then you leave the thing, corporate America or your job or whatever it is, and then you get on that stationary bike. Oh man, it's already going to be hard. That makes it that just you're stacking the deck against
That's
yourself.
One of my chapters in my book. Ideas are cheap. Execution is everything.
Yeah.
Like,
That's
if you're
exactly right.
thinking about an entrepreneur, you're never going to become one. Entrepreneurs don't do that. They just go out and they do.
Right.
They don't even fail. They're just figuring out where they're going to be. And
that's exactly right. 100%. So
now, if you have a coach or a mentor, right, that's where they've cleared a path. They say, hey, listen, no, there's a giant tar pit that way. Everyone goes that way. It's because it's whatever. This way, it's a little longer. It's clearer, less pitfalls, less tar pits, but you're going to get to where you're trying to go quicker. But it doesn't look it that way. And then that's where a coach goes, no, I fell on that 4 times. You don't want to go that way.
Well, not only that, but like the type of coaching that we do is mindset coaching, which is different than skill set coaching. So skill set coaching is mentorship, which is hugely important. And the example that you just gave, I think, is a mentor, a skill set coach, where they are saying exactly that. Oh, you're headed in that direction, man. I'm telling you, I went that way. Just what you said. There's a bunch of pitfalls. If you pivot a few degrees this way, might be a little better path for you. Really great. Like people need that a ton. What we do at Rewire is slightly different in the way that we want to make sure that your thinking is right and your mindset is right as well. So they go hand in hand, right? The skill set and the mindset. Without the skill set, without you actually doing something, trying it, failing it, debriefing it, and making adjustments and doing things, like skill set's important. You actually have to do something. But man, if your head isn't right, it kind of doesn't matter what your skill set is.
I was trying to give you a layup, get the Rewire, because it has to do with the brain. So.
Yeah.
You made that layup, by the way. Very nice. It was a bank swish, which is good. When we play horse or cat out in the driveway, that's the only way I can beat my daughter now in basketball.
A bank swish. I don't know that I've heard that term in a long time. I like that.
Right.
Yep.
So the only way I can beat her right now is left-hand shots. And so, but I'm like 6 months from never beating her again in horse ever. And she's
good for your daughter. That's awesome.
Yeah. She's like, Daddy, I'm getting better. I'm like, yeah, clearly you keep making threes and I can't even get the ball to the hole, which I don't even talk about it. I don't know why. Anyway, not have anything to do with what we're talking about, but that is ADD kicking in. And thank you for joining everybody. Tell me about, let's get into the weeds. So some of the other big pains people have fear-wise, and I ask this to every one of our guests, is how did you get your first customer?
Yeah, for me, I'll tell the story, but then I'll tell the lesson behind it. So for me, when I announced what I was doing, so I was a mortgage banker. I announced that I was, retiring from the industry and the business. And in mortgage banking, any type of sales, it's usually a problem, right? Because typically you're going to a competitor and like they cut you off and it's bad and we hate them now and all that. It wasn't that way with me because I was like, I'm getting out of the industry. I'm harmless to you guys. And so I ended up hanging out there for another month to wind down my practice and hand it over to somebody else and all that.
But that's scary. Talk about that emotion of declaring I'm going somewhere completely different. And people are looking at like, in your mind, you're thinking, God, I hope I don't have to go back to this because I just declared them out. So
it's a stake in the ground. As
you're talking about this, that is another giant fear people have is the public and more importantly, probably friends, the people that'll be like, what are you doing? Like the naysayers.
That happened. And the naysayers in my life, they weren't, oh, you suck, you'll never do it. It came in a different form. It was like, so how are you going to pay your mortgage?
Oh, that sounds like
what are you going to do? Like there were things, questions. And I'm like, so I do think I'll give you another analogy. Tom, I didn't plan on all these analogies, but it's happening. You can't kind of hop over a stream, right? Like if you're on one side of the stream and you got to hop over to the other side, you got to freaking go for it. Like you got to get a running start and jump and go. Because if you kind of, I'm not really sure, whatever, you're going to fall in the stream. And so
stealing that one too for a post, just so I'll give you credit.
I think, credit. That's all I care about with these things,
right.
Credit. So with doing the business thing and declaring, I think it's the same thing. I do think at some point you need to put a stake in the ground and say, this is what the heck I'm doing. Because if you kind of sort of do it, I don't know. I don't know that it'll work out as well than if you actually do it.
And let's tie that back to, the original question of how you found your first customer in the lesson, because the stream analogy is perfect, right? So you've got the bicycle from my original analogy. I love analogies. My book is written in analogy, so I love this. So the bicycle's moving faster. We'll say that, you've come to the stream. Now you got to jump it with your bicycle. If you just ride it and don't even really kind of try to do something slightly different to pick it up and get it across, you're in the stream, you're getting wet. And you may
That's right.
So you jump across a stream. What I find on their side is I meet a lot of entrepreneurs who are stuck in the middle of the stream because they think they jumped in and they're about to drown because they haven't bought. You don't have confidence out there. You haven't. Your mind is not. People do understand if you're confident or know what you're doing, and if you haven't gone all in, you're no way that there's someone's coming along with you on that ride if you haven't yourself committed to what you're delivering. So maybe in that context, talk about getting that customer.
Well, just so connecting the dots between, doing what, you want to be doing as you're currently doing your new job, like whether you call it a side hustle or you talk about, using your employer as your angel investor. Like, in other words, you don't want to not do anything for your new gig and then all of a sudden you're going to do it. No. You want to be doing your research. You want to test it out. You want to, get your website up or whatever it is that you're going to be doing along the way. And I had been helping people in coaching my entire mortgage banking career. So my very first customer was awesome. They were very kind. My coworkers and leadership and everything threw me a big party. And at that party, as I was leaving, one of my guys came up to me and he was like, "Hey, I'm not really sure." Cause we didn't know what Rewire was going to look like. We thought it was going to be a coaching and development company, but we weren't 100% sure. And one of my guys, one of my top sales guys came up to me and says, "Hey man, I'm not sure exactly what you're doing, but I want to be your first customer."
Yeah. He found value in your mentorship when you were there.
Yes. Yes.
And so I'm sorry, like just from that, like that's a perfect example of a first customer. Cause I know people worry about that. It's someone you're already walking the walk. So you're already out there. And so if you're thinking about starting a whole new business, you might want to walk the walk a little bit on products, services, whatever, because the people closest to you, there's someone else who wanted to do that, needs that service. And you maybe not charging them full price or whatever it is initially, but that'll help you prove out that first customer is probably still very close to you. I know we got lucky. We found somebody out of nowhere. I don't know how they found us, probably because we were walking our own walk, but that's a great example of be comfortable working with somebody close to you initially, because some people aren't very comfortable with that. They're too scared that they'll fail them.
Yeah. Well, scared and fear, maybe we get into that. That's a whole topic, right? But that particular client, he's still with us today. He's still a client. 10 years later, he's still
amazing.
Rewire. And the things that he's done is, it's magical. He's one of the top mortgage bankers in the industry. He's got a magical life with amazing wife and kids and health and everything else. And again, it's not because of what we did, but we influenced some of that. We had something to do with that. And that dude, I'm fired up right now thinking about him because, again, we had an influence on that. We had a little bit of a fingerprint on that. And so
what was your lesson learned from that? I think you had talked about like there was a lesson learned on the first customer chasing and that.
Well, so we did both my partner in crime at Rewire, Steve Scanlon. Again, he was my coach for many years, and now we're business partners. We both looked at that and said, okay, we have a pretty good circle of influence, each one of us. And I'm on the East Coast and he's on the West Coast. So we started as a virtual company and still are. But my point of saying the East Coast, West Coast thing is we both ran in different circles. So we had circle of influences that were pretty wide. And so he had people do the same thing. "Oh, Steve, you're starting a new company. Can I be your customer? Can I be your client?" He had a lot of that too. And so then we said, "Oh, why don't we go to all of our circle of influence and say, this is what we're doing. We're open for business. This is how we do it." And that really helped launched us because we had a lot of clients right from the get-go, which was, again, I'm still today grateful for that. But it was super helpful.
Have you found along your way, in the other piece that a lot of people have struggled with is, what do I charge? And I'm not, you don't have to disclose your pricing because I'm sure it's not fluid, but it's going to be based on the customer and their needs and like, you're not trying to rake some over the coals. You're trying to align the plan that works to their budget, but this is a question. And I see most people who get into things undercharge. And so what I find is a lot of people come out and they have their services and they want to make a career and they're like, "Oh, we're only charging $300 for, we'll say, a website." I'm like, "You're charging so little, you're going to not make enough to survive. You're going to get horrible customers who want everything super cheap, but will want a $10,000 plan." Talk about the mindset of pricing your services or products. Let's leave products out of it. I want to focus on services because products you can do some research. Services are sometimes a little more opaque or and harder to determine. How do you set someone's mindset to drive value from day one is really the question I'm getting to. Therefore, you can determine a price to charge.
Well, you're how you set up that question. The very first thing that you said was, how much do I charge? The answer is more. The answer is more. And let me tell you why. And that gets to the second part of your question. In order for other people to value what you bring to the marketplace, you need to value it yourself first. And if you don't value it, then the posture that you'll be in when you're customer facing is that you don't value it, and neither will your clients. So that's one piece of it. And by the way, bro, we could have a whole podcast on this, right?
We might.
The other, and that's fine. I have a lot of thoughts on this. And the other thing is, I'm sure you do this in your book, in another podcast episode, is you really have to figure out who is your ideal client, who's your buyer persona, call it your avatar, whatever it is.
Yeah, you got to have it.
Figure out who that is and figure out all their demographics, right? How much money do they make? How much money do they spend? How much do they value your service that you're providing? You need to know those things cold. Once you identify them, then you can start to hone and figure out your pricing. But what you don't want to do is, we're just going to price down here because we're getting started. And obviously you can't shoot the moon right away either, but people undervalue their service. And I think that you need to value your service significantly yourself first and internalize that. And then when you are client facing, you'll be able to explain, demonstrate, how the value that you're going to add to the avatar that you've identified. And if for some reason you can't, then you're either in the wrong industry, or you have the wrong service, or you've identified the not the correct avatar.
Right. Oh, and a lot of people are solving problems that they aren't burning. And so when you're getting your business, and I always recommend this, is like you're solving something. And a lot of people, as they come out of their corporate world, or they're doing what they know, which is related to what they did, but that's what a corporation solves, and no one's buying that from you because that's why a corporation exists sometimes. So sometimes people get into something that's ancillary to where they're coming from, and you can't find the buyer for it, or it's not a problem for the individual or the small business that you were solving for, let's say, as a big. And I'm being very vague, but the point being is only you're going to evolve. And 100% where you start today as an entrepreneur is not where you're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, or should be. And so right. if you're not evolving and learning and niching and trying to figure out what you're doing as a solopreneur that becomes an entrepreneur, becomes a leader of a company, you're going to struggle. And this is why a lot of people fail, I believe, is they don't evolve with what is in front of them and the opportunities that they could solve. Or worse, they offer everything and they sell to no one. And so that's
correct. Yeah. All buyer persona avatar stuff. That part is super, super important. I see a lot of organizations, or like you say, entrepreneurs or startups, solopreneurs, that, they want to sell everything to everybody. What happens is when you do that, you're not talking to anybody.
Right.
But when you've identified your avatar and you know everything about them, then when you do put your message out there, that person will hear you. And then it starts to get super fun. Even and the more you niche, the better. And I know, again, if you're listening to this podcast, you've heard that before too. I can't stress that enough. You need to, if you think you've niched enough, you need to niche even more.
Before we get into kind of the top three things, I'm going to go through some kind of questions I always try to answer. We'll get into that. I'm going to leave with one more thought. So we're going to go into top three things you wish you would have known, to top three things you shouldn't have done, which is always funny. I want those to be, you're giving me content for my new book coming out. So I want those to be funny, damn it. And then
anyway, I can help, bro.
We'll do a hot seat. What I would like to do is give you a free plug. Do you want to do a free advertisement right now? Go ahead.
You're
30
funny.
seconds.
I think we've done some of it. I listen, I'm here to add value to you, but I will say we're a coaching and development company at Rewire. We specialize in mindset coaching for people that are doing really, really well and want to do it long term, or they want to do even better, that they're into growth and they want to, if they're in a leadership position, they want to hone their leadership skills or build elite teams. So that's what we do.
Give me the call to action. Where do they go?
Rewireinc.com. Rewireinc.com. They can find out all about us. And then I'm on all the socials at Rewire Jason.
Rewire Jason. Because you don't go to rewire.com because I think it's a payment place. So Rewire Inc. Inc.com. So you look at that free ads. You see, guys, in my world, that's called nurturing, adding value without him knowing it. I gave him a free ad. Fidelity. It's there forever now. Rewire.
Appreciate that, Tom.
This episode is not sponsored by RewireInc.com yet. All right.
Yeah, you're good.
So
all right, let's get to your questions.
Let's question is entrepreneurial ADD, the niching. Yep. So this is 100% in your sweet spot, I'd have to guess, of the Rewire. I have massive entrepreneurial ADD, as many do. Your ideas. You see all the opportunities.
As do I. Yep.
And you're afraid you see all the opportunity to sell. And by doing so, because you don't want to miss an opportunity, because you see it all, you see the pieces are connected, you miss tons with that thinking.
Yeah.
Because the niching down for an entrepreneurial ADD, I'll say it that way. I'm making the term up. I'm not sure it's real, is not truly niched. For where you need to go to a niche, it'll feel so narrow. And listen up. If you're listening to this and you are like, yeah, I have that. I'm telling you right now, you will have to go to a level of focus that's going to bug you. It's going to be disturbing. You're going to feel like you're going to need to go do things on the side. Stop doing that. That niche, because it feels trapped, confined. It feels like, what if that fails? The answer to that question is it doesn't. You just go pivot to the next thing. It's very niche if you need to. Talk to me about the mindset to get there in a couple minutes, because that is every entrepreneur I met has some form of this and they don't know how to get through it. So give me the 2 minute, maybe it's not 2 minutes. That's it.
We're 10 minutes. We're 10 years into this at Rewire. We're still working on this. So let me first say, I have some thoughts on this and we've made some mistakes. I'm not the end all be all authority on this, but because of the mistakes that we've made in this department, we've learned a thing or two. And I can tell you that what's really cool is because we've been in business 10 years, it starts to be pretty obvious to me when I'm speaking with somebody and they're not a good buyer persona for us. And very quickly, in fact, we even have automated ways now to point them in other directions where they may be able to be better served, rather than us going through a half an hour discovery call with somebody who either we're not the right fit for, or we're not the right price point for, or whatever. But what's really fun is when I am speaking with somebody that is the buyer persona that we've identified, it's like we've known each other for years. We're talking the same language. They already know what they need, and they know that we're one of the providers out there in the ether that can provide them that. So I don't need to sell them on what we do. They already know the problem that they have, and they know that they need a solution for it. And they're talking to me because they know that we're one of the solution providers for that particular need. So I would say that when that happens, and it's kind of like golf, like I don't golf a lot anymore, but I remember when I did, 90 of my shots sucked per round, but 1 or 2 were really good. And every golfer knows this. Those 1 or 2 shots are the ones that keep you coming back. It's the same thing with the conversation that you're asking me about right now, Tom, with the clients. When I speak with a client that it's like exactly right, I'm happy, they're happy, we're going to do business together. I'm talking their language, they're talking my language. A price is not a challenge anymore because they anticipate,
and the value's there. They see the value already. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we deliver. I mean, one of our mainstays is we're the ROI that you get on coaching. In fact, we just did a big podcast about this. We better be delivering a huge return on investment because we're not cheap. But at the end of the day, we want our clients going, man, I would have paid double for that because of the value that you brought us. And that happens a lot. And
your golf analogies. I say I'm an analogy guy, and I love golf.
3 analogies, by the way.
Listen, when you buy the book, there's 50 in there because every chapter has one. So and so I will tell you the analogy is great, and as a golfer, that's I find, by the way, there's a joke that says, hey, when you're a +2 handicap, which I was, you're terrible at business. So true. When you're about a 7 or a 9, you start getting your sweet spot in business, and it's also so true. All right,
it's awesome.
The idea, though, that was 1 or 2 shots, keep bringing it back. And here's another thing of the entrepreneurial idea and then the golf analogy. If you give me a wide open 100-yard wide fairway, I'm going to miss it. I've got too many options. Do I hook it? Do I slice it? Do I hit it low, high? Do I hit it right down the middle? I just think I'm going to hit it left of the fairway now and hit it out of the rough, because that's what happens. If you put a tree right in front of me, I will hit that fairway because I will know I'll have to cut around it, and I will commit to that shot, because that's the only shot right now that will work. And it's amazing because I see this in my game. So I just pretend there's a tree in the way every time. And I mean that because I just try to hit the shot that I know if there was something there I would have to do. And if you take that to business, if you know this is the shot that's probably most consistent and it's going to probably hit the fairway for you, stop taking all the other options and just play the boring one that ends up getting you success, that gives you the next club in to do the next thing, and try to hit it the center of the green. Don't try to hit it right to the flag. Just hit it pretty close, evaluate it, and then do the next one. And that's what golf is. That's how you get good at golf as well, is you don't hit the crazy, awesome hero shot. You hit the best one that you know you can execute to get you closer to your goal. Yeah. So awesome. Say, listen, let's do it. This is a semi-speed round. So this has been great conversation, by the way. I love this.
Likewise.
Let's give me the top 3 things you wish you would have known before becoming an entrepreneur.
I'll tell you some things that come to mind. One is you have what it takes. If you're listening to this right now and you're wondering and whatever, I want to put the wind to your back and let you know that you have what it takes, because everybody does. Finding your niche, finding your avatar, doing the thing, it's hard and it's whatever, but you do have what it takes, because that whole, the fear factor, do I have what it takes? Am I supposed to be here? Whatever you do. I just want you to know that you have what it takes. So there's one thing. The other thing is, man, you can't be bold enough. Like, be more bold. Be more. I'm trying to.
This is jumping across a stream right here. Get 5 feet over the stream. Don't be a foot over. Clear it.
Yeah, it's exactly right. Like, be more bold, because here's the thing. When I say be more bold, people go, well, what if they don't like me, or what if they hang up, or what if they say no? Here's what I've always said, and I believe I use this today, even though we run a successful business, we're growing, I still use it today. The client right this minute, they're not doing business with you. And so if you screw it up and they tell you to go pound sand or whatever, the only end result of that is they're still not doing business with you. So nothing has changed.
They might respect you for trying. At that point, they maybe have more knowledge of what you do if it goes sideways to what they're doing. I agree. 100%.
Yeah. And so if the worst case scenario is they're not doing business with you, and right this minute they're not doing business with you, then you have nothing to lose. So be bold and go for it. So I don't know. I gave you 2 things.
I need a third one. I mean, I can't let you out here without a third one.
What was your question? I lost the question.
See, there's the ADD kicking in. There's a course called Rewire Inc. that helps you focus.
Oh, yeah.
The last question is, what's the third thing you wish you would have known before becoming an entrepreneur?
Yeah, I don't know. So what did I say? You have what it takes and be bold. The other is the people around you. You've cultivated people around you your entire life, whether that's your family, your coworkers, your friends, whatever. They're people around you. They are your cheerleaders. They're your biggest cheerleaders. And so use that to your advantage. And I don't mean take advantage of them. That's not what I'm saying. Use that to your advantage. They are your cheerleaders and they want you to succeed. So share your ideas with them, share your challenges with them. And by the way, if they only want to hold you back, or you're finding, wait a minute, that dude Jason on the podcast said this person's supposed to be for me, they're actually against me right now, flee, get away from that person. They're not as close to you as you thought. So just those people are your cheerleaders, just like you would be their cheerleader if they were struggling or they were going through something or they needed some encouragement. So just know that and lean on them. They want to help you. And that was one thing that, I, every now and again, especially earlier in my career, and when we started Rewire, I'm like, I need to do this on my own. Like, this is, if it is to be, it's up to me, that type of thing. No, the people around me, they know me, they love me, they're cheerleading me. And so speaking with them and asking them questions, sharing your fears with them, seeing what their opinion is on certain things. Like, when you succeed around them, you're shedding that success light on them, and you're actually providing a model of, because they're thinking about something that they want to do, whether it's business related or not. Maybe they want to lose weight. Maybe they want to take a chance on a relationship. Maybe they do want to start a business. When they when somebody close to them like you does the thing and you're successful and it's working, you're actually providing a model. You're helping them to say, I saw Jason, he did that thing, and well, I helped him, and maybe he'll help me. And so just that whole thing about using your connections, your relationships, again, not take advantage of them, but use them for your advantage, just like they would and could rely on you to help them if they needed it.
Yeah, it's your support foundation. And I know I have a chapter about this where I talk about you're going to need to let go of some of them. So I know I have friend base, great people, love it. I just never really, I know I kind of pulled back, and I found I was looking at myself why I pulled back. And what I found was they were very content with the jobs they have, or at least that's what they had settled for in life. And I don't mean that in a negative way, but they were okay with the Friday drinking all together. And to me, it just became, I needed to surround myself with more, it's not successful people, more people aligned to bigger picture, bigger thoughts, more outreach, more growth, not the cog in the wheel, let's retire at 70. I don't sign up for that mentality. And I've struggled with it for years in corporate. And what I found was, for me to escape it, I had to let go of people that I was friends with. You may have to do the same, and you're going to retain the ones tighter that really support what you're doing, and they're honest with you, and they're like, ask hard questions. And the friends become so much higher value to you on so many levels. And they appreciate what you're doing, because they may very well be like, they may not be entrepreneurs, they may not, but they're going to appreciate you and the courage and the trust you put in them. There's so many people that are going to be they're going to be anchors, and you can't go fast with anchors. You got to cut them. Yeah. You can remember where you left them if you want to, but the truth is sometimes you just let it go and you go on from that.
Well said. Can't go fast with anchors. I like that.
You can't go fast with anchors. Oh, I got to write that one down too. 1 second. I got some great, this is how you get content, by the way, people. Here's a little tip. If you're to this point, that's how you get content. Write down the thoughts like, oh, that's a good one. I'm going to contribute that one to myself. All right, here's your turn. This is a little speedier, so we're going a little faster now.
Let's go.
Funny. I want these funny, because this is my content for the book. I'm going to quote you on some of these if they're good.
I'm a pretty funny guy, so
3 things you shouldn't have done in your career, just in general. It could be at any point in your career, because this is about never being promoted and becoming an entrepreneur. 3 things
shouldn't have done. Oh man, I don't know. I'll tell you. So remember, at the top of our time together, I told you about starting a business. When I was 21 coming out of college, and after 6 months, when it didn't work, I threw it away. I shouldn't have thrown it away. Yeah. I should have just kept on going. I was living at the home at the time. My parents were invested in what I was doing. And so if I took a 21-year diversion into mortgage banking, which I loved every minute of it. But if I would have stuck with it past 6 months, I wouldn't have had to take that right turn towards mortgage banking. I would have just been a coach or a speaker or whatever right from the get-go, because guess what? It takes longer than 6 months to start a business. Yeah.
And
I wish I wouldn't have stopped.
You should have been more bold.
Yeah. But here, with any of these that I come up with, and I already don't know what my second 2 are, but
you could just stay to one. That's fine with that.
Well, but let me make this point: is those things that you shouldn't have done. I don't know that I have a lot of regrets, because that's what led me to who I am today. Right. And it led me to you. And I'm a big believer, Tom. And that's part of the path that led me to be talking to you right this minute, brother. And I'm grateful for that. And so if I was still a mortgage banker, or if that thing did work, back in the 90s, the original business that I started, would you and I be talking right now? I don't know. My life might be different. I don't know. I like my life. So anyways, I would have done that differently, but at the same time, I didn't. And that I was a mortgage banker, and there's been a lot of really good things, as a result of that. So
I'm going to let you off the hook. I think that one thing is enough. I'm going to change my question sets. I think the one thing you shouldn't have done is give up, is to let go of the dream too early. And I think that's the take of that. So for my AI that's along with us here, to note that for the summary. All right, so let's go into speed round. Here it is. We're coming in. People want to know when this is over. It's over soon, about 3 minutes. What's your favorite calendar scheduling technology? Oh, by the way, I'm using all this data to get sponsors, just to be clear.
You're funny, man.
What is your favorite calendar scheduling technology right now?
Calendly. We use Calendly. We hook it up with HubSpot, and perfect. Calendly. Boom.
Yeah. As a member of the Atlanta Tech Village, where that graduated from, I'm a big fan. Did you see I plugged that in there? Atlanta Tech Village, who's not sponsoring this. It's going to soon. All right. Favorite CRM? I think we heard it already.
HubSpot.
Very expensive, but they do have great starter plans for
worth what you pay. Worth what you pay.
They integrate very well with everything. And if you use it correctly, if you manage your contacts correctly into it, you don't pay as much as you think. I'd say it that way. If you don't put garbage in there.
That's correct. And that's the case with any of the database CRMs.
Yep.
But yeah, HubSpot, expensive, but very good. You get what you pay for.
Absolutely. Favorite business book?
Man, it's an oldie, but a goodie. And maybe some of your people are going to be too young for it, but How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Dale Carnegie, yeah. One of my faves. Yep. It gets a little dry and I feel like I'm in like a 20s conversation.
I know.
And you read it and you're like, duh. But it's funny because it some people don't.
It's duh, but most people, I think most people don't do it. But anyways,
no, agree. I'm with you. That's one of my favorites. It's on my Audible list for sure. Favorite quote?
I'll give you one from my dad. I'll give you two. I'll give you, you're paying for one. I'll give you two. One is, if at first you don't succeed, try again. And the other one that I'll attribute to my dad is, the difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer. Oh, think about that one. I see your wheels moving. The difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a little longer. Probably my number one favorite quote.
Who's your favorite kind of up and coming person on LinkedIn you like to follow?
It's actually a friend of mine, and her name is Kate Ladon. She is in Manhattan these days, which golly, she'd be a really good guest for you. But Kate Ladon, she does some stuff in the personal branding space, and she is amazing. Awesome. Kate Ladon. Kate
Ladon. All right, cool. We'll make sure we drive a post out there.
Yeah.
What's your favorite or three most one answer favorite entrepreneurial traits? What are the most important entrepreneurial traits of somebody?
Yeah. Take the risk. So we already talked about like putting a stake in the ground and take a risk. If you're risk adverse, boy, it's going to be a tough entrepreneurial road. So take the risk. Bold. We talked about that, jumping over the stream. Be bold and jump all the way over the stream. And the mindset piece, that's probably still the most important. I go back to what I said earlier. You have what it takes. And so the mindset piece, if you can have all the skill set in the world and be the very best in the world at what you do, if you don't have the right mindset, man, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be really difficult.
Who's your favorite bank?
You already gave me your answer, but I have a different answer.
Please go.
And I will tell you, in advance. So it's Prism Bank out of Oklahoma, and people are going to go, what the world?
That was my thought. What?
Who in the world are they? I'm part of an investment group. We actually bought this bank. So pure disclosure, Prism Bank out of Oklahoma. And the reason that we invested in them is because, man, they're just doing things in the banking space that the traditional banks and lenders aren't open to doing. And for your clientele, entrepreneurs, Prism Bank, they just do a phenomenal job.
Great. I feel like I have the right guy to get them to sponsor. So maybe I'll take that off air with a guy who
there you go.
All right. Hey, listen, thank you, by the way, so much for joining. This has been very fruitful. I have so many more questions, and I'm going to steal some more time for you just to kind of follow up on the coaching just for our own personal. I encourage anyone who's made it to this part. And if you have, I'm really hoping Jason has some kind of a special offer or giveaway, or at least a way to get a hold of him. Jason, you want to do a final kind of outro?
Yeah. I mean, here's the deal. So rewireinc.com, that's how to find us. Here's the thing for your group. We have all kinds of free tools on there. We have business planning tools. We have, we have a 30-day self-guided free coaching day. So if you have a goal in mind and you want to get there for free, we have a thing that we dose out once a day. It's 100% free. We don't bother you after that. You just take advantage of it and you'll get your goal. You'll achieve your goal in 30 days. So that's our 30-day goal planning tool. So
and they get that
rewireinc.com.
Is that they'd find the giveaway there as well?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Just go under tools on our tools tab, and there's all kinds of tools for you to listen to, go through, whatever.
And connect to Jason at LinkedIn. It's linkedin.com/n. I think it's Jason, or search for Jason Abell. It's Abell. Listen, this is a small time with him, but lots of knowledge of how to think, become an entrepreneur, act, be successful. Either you're just starting, you're in the middle of it, you're about to exit. He's really where you want to kind of come in and talk to him, because there's different thinking, different seasons of life, different seasons of your journey in entrepreneurship. These guys are awesome for it. And I really appreciate all the time that you and I have interacted as well. Thank you so much, guys. Once again, thanks for listening to the Never Been Promoted podcast. Unleash your entrepreneur. Jason, thank you so much for joining me today.
Tom, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Never Been Promoted with Thomas Helfrich. Make sure to check the show notes for our guest contact information and any relevant links. Connect with Thomas personally at neverbeenpromoted.com.